of here. Go on.
Okay, bye.
Wait, thank you, Becca. What's up, Cory? How you doing, buddy? We're just
What's up,
talking
Mike?
about.
How you doing, man?
I'm great, man. Thanks for your time. We're just talking
Yeah.
about tumble dryers. It's all the exciting stuff on the Believe in Me podcast, and how apparently you got to get the tubes cleared out every 5 years, because ours was blocked and we had a little fire. Anyway, there you go.
Tragedy. Tumble
Yeah,
dryers. All right, I'll try not to buy those then.
Bro, you got to get it done. Cory, how you been, man? How you been?
Yeah, I've been good. How about you?
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Last time we saw you in action, of course, was out in Abu Dhabi against the Nurmagomedov. Talk to me about that fight, that performance, and what's next, etc.
I thought I did okay. I obviously needed to do better, but yeah, I mean, looking back, I spent a lot of the last few years really trying to like be one of the best grapplers in the sport, you know, and be able to compete against these guys like Umar and future people that are going to be really high level, like high accoladed wrestlers. So I spent like last few years kind of doing that because my striking was kind of good enough, you know. So now I think I just got to kind of like tailor things a little bit differently because I overestimated how good he was going to be in the grappling department. So through camp, I spent a lot of time doing that and maybe not enough time spent like diving real deep into the striking portion and what that was going to look like. But, you know, that's just kind of the way that things go. You lose, you have to readjust and then move forward and all of that. But it was like a 7 out of 10, you know, and I needed to fight at like a 9 or a 10 out of 10 in order to win that fight. So I'll get him next time.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, it was a great fight. It was a great performance, and you more than held your own. And, you know, it is what it is. He got you on the scorecards. There's no shame. Certainly, excuse me, when it's Umar Nurmagomedov, there's absolutely nothing. You know, it is what it is. You learn, you get better. So I see a lot of people talking about a potential matchup with you and Sugar Sean O'Malley. That's kind of doing the rounds as the most exciting or the only exciting fight left in the bantamweight division. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that you read all the comments. I don't read a ton of the comments, but you read all the comments, man, and you talk to fans and you talk to people, and that's the fight that everyone wants to see happen. And I know Sean wants to wait to June. I'm actually kind of surprised that the UFC hasn't come to me or Sean hasn't said anything about that fight yet or anything and just asked, you know, like, hey, you willing to wait till June? Because I would entertain that big time, because I think a big piece that I've really been able to appreciate lately in the sport is that I really want to give the fans like what they're paying to see. And if it means waiting a little bit to fight in a fight where fans are most excited for, you know, like I would definitely big time entertain that. I would rather not have it be all the way in June, but I mean, there's no better fight that you can make, man. Like me and O'Malley is just, it's a banger of a fight. Everyone knows it. You read all the comments. That's the only fight that people are asking for me next and for Sean O'Malley next. So
has there been any talk from the UFC about any opponents in general?
Not really. I told him after the last fight, I was like, hey, look, guys, like I just sat out for a whole year with an injury. So I kind of want to, you know, get back in there pretty soon. So they tried to match me and Figgy up in December. That was, I don't know, sometime last month. Figgy turned down the fight, wanted to fight Jan. I think that just like my frame is just a difficult one to deal with in the sport. And then also like
it is at 135.
Yeah, and I'm well-rounded, and you know, like I'm not like a big shit talker guy. So I think that maybe guys think that it's going to be not a big fight, but I think that now at this point in the UFC, I've established myself, especially in this division, which is one of the best ones, is one of the best guys that there is, and you know, when I show up to fight, it's going to be a good fight. So yeah, I mean, they said me and Figgy turned it down. Can't really do much about that. So there's really no one else to fight outside of that. I asked for Jan too, and they said that they were likely going to do Jan and Figgy because me and Jan had already fought. So, but yeah, I don't know. It was either one of those two, right? There really isn't anyone else to fight. Henry's talking about going to 25, and he says all kinds of shit all the time that he sometimes follows through with and then sometimes doesn't. So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at, man. I feel like O'Malley's really the only guy to fight. Maybe the winner of Jan and Figgy, if O'Malley's going to be weird and still not bring me up or mention that fight or anything like that. So yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
I kind of sense a little bit of frustration. Is that correct?
Sure. I mean, it kind of sucks when you get, I mean, dude, I just spent like a whole year sitting out. Like,
Yeah,
I kind of want, I wanted to rattle off some fights. I know that that's really important to people. Like, you get your face out there more, man. People start to catch
of
on a
course.
lot more too. So I wanted to be really active, but there's really no one to fight. So yeah, it's like frustrating being in the position, but I guess it's a good problem.
Uh, all the guys that you're talking about there, they're obviously like all the top 5 people. What about just to stay active? Would you consider someone a little bit further down the pecking order?
I mean, I was really crossing my fingers that Aldo would win and look a little bit better than he did, but he lost that fight. Batista didn't put on the best performance in the world, or at least the fans definitely didn't like it based off of their response. So I kind of wouldn't really entertain that. I also kind of have to be a little bit stingier than what I like, what kind of feels right, because I think that I deserve a certain
Caliber.
caliber opponent, and I think
Yeah,
that
yeah, I'm with you.
if I went too far down, man, I think I'd be devaluing myself, and that's kind of like a weird thing for me to try to feel like, because that's not what this is to me. But at the same time, that's the reality of it. So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Yeah, yeah, no, I totally get it. I do. The reason I wanted to speak to you, of course, is what you're one of the top bantamweights, but also when we speak to you at the fighter meetings, like I'm always so impressed by
Oh,
your
thanks.
mentality and what you bring to the sport. I'm an idiot and I'm silly and all the rest of it, but I take my career and my profession very seriously, of course.
Yep.
But like when I speak to you, you're so cerebral and you talk about you come at the mixed martial arts lifestyle through kind of a different lens to other fighters that I speak to. Could you elaborate on that a little bit of what I'm talking about? You know, you do a lot of meditating and stuff like that, more from like a traditional martial arts mindset sometimes.
Yeah, sure. Dude, every time I bring up meditating in front of you, in my head, I'm just like, every time I'm just like, Mike thinks I'm such a pussy.
No,
Dude.
no, I
In my
don't. No,
head, I'm just
I
like,
find it
Mike thinks I'm
interesting. I try and meditate. I just can't. But the ADD
yeah,
mind's
yeah,
going
yeah.
around a million miles an hour. I sit there and I close my eyes. I think, right, meditate, and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm just letting my eyes shut, thinking about everything I've got to do later today.
Yeah. That's the point a little bit, but yeah, fighting. I always say this: fighting is my best friend. It's something that I treat as like. I know that the sport is a little bit weird because it's where sport and entertainment meet. There's like when you look at, for example, all of the bad decisions from last week. Like it's because there's kind of two camps of people. There's people that want to be entertained by fights, and then there's people that want to watch a sport and watch
Yes.
people win. And then you get a guy like take for example Aldo versus Batista. Batista's like, yeah, of course, like I'll hold him against the fence. Why would I not do that? That's winning. That's like the sport piece. And then you have fighters who are like the guys that are like, yeah, like I don't care about the rules. Like this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna like go out there, fight, and try to finish this guy. So there kind of seems to be two camps with all of that. But for me personally, fighting, like I said, is like it's my best friend. It's kind of the only thing that I know. I see it as a way for me to kind of understand the world better, to understand myself a lot better, to understand kind of what people are like, and I can do that through understanding myself better. And I like throwing myself in the fire. Like this sport, as you know, is one that can be very intimidating and very scary. And I think that when you're doing really hard stuff, which is fighting, you just get to know yourself better. And I think that knowing yourself better makes you understand the world better, and then it makes you understand other people better and all of that stuff. So I don't treat it like it's a sport. I don't treat it like it's a hobby or an activity that I do. This is like my way of connecting to life, and that's kind of just the way that I view it. So I take it serious, maybe like a little bit too serious. But yeah, fighting is kind of the only thing that I know. I know that like nowadays fighters kind of got to be like social influencers. They got to be funny. They got to have a character. They have to do all of this stuff. But my character is just like guy who trains a lot and sorry, I know we're not supposed to say
No,
that.
you're good, buddy. Don't worry about it. I don't care.
That shuts up, like I'm just kind of like a blue collar guy that just is quiet. I put in my work. I think about this stuff when I'm laying in bed and can't sleep. And I try to just problem solve and be the best version of myself that I can in fighting.
But that's all people want, I think, because yeah, you're right. If you go out there and you talk a lot of crap, and you cut great promos and this and that, you're doing the Michael Chandler bit on the microphone, whoa, and doing the Ric Flair and talking shit like McGregor, maybe it gets you a bit more spotlight, but you've got to be authentic. You've got to be yourself, otherwise everything's just forced. It's fake. It's an act. You said fighting is my best friend. I thought that was really interesting. Could you just explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. So I started training when I was 17 years old. In Aurora, Colorado. And like, without going into too much like detail of stuff, like I kind of grew up like a little bit sad, you know what I mean? Like, I just like didn't really like everything about my life kind of growing up, so I was a bit sad. I was like a bit angry, like just like kind of a teenage, not maybe like a punk. I was like pretty polite, but I was still kind of like, nah, I'm gonna do what I want to do. And, all of that stuff. I was kind of that way. So when I started fighting, it like really kind of course corrected me. I feel like a lot. It gave me like a lot of purpose. It gave me like a reason to live, more or less. It gave me something to really hone in on and to just be there for me, man. Like I grew up and I didn't really feel like there was too many people that were there for me. And I feel like fighting in the gym and all of that stuff, that was always there for me. Like I used to love the nights where I would stay into the gym until like 9-10 o'clock at night, and I would kind of just leave by myself or hang out with one or two of the other guys that was there. And it just felt like home. Like the gym always really felt like home. So that's kind of that's kind of how I treat the sport. Like I treat it with the utmost respect. I see myself as someone that has to move this sport in a direction that I think is virtuous and honorable. And I kind of joke and call myself like the balance bringer of the sport a little bit, because like not everyone can be crazy, man. Some people got to be humble and be the way that I am. I kind of just see myself as that way. But man, the fighting's always just been there for me, man. And I've kind of always been a lonely dude, and it's just always been there for me. It's been my best friend.
Thank you for sharing that, because it takes a lot of courage to do that. And it's not an unfamiliar story. I've had so many fighters on here, and of course my own story as well. Same thing, life going completely the wrong way, making bad decisions, angry kid, getting up to no good and getting arrested and all kinds of shit. And then I find mixed martial arts, and I feel like I've now finally got a purpose, and this is what I'm destined to do. And, it just helped me on the right path. And I'm sure similar things for yourself as well. Don't beat yourself up on not being a loudmouth. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with that. It takes all sorts, man, and every different type of character and all the rest of it. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with your approach whatsoever. It's what you do inside the octagon that counts. And what you do inside the octagon, Cory, is unbelievable. I'm telling you, like, I know Chito very well, and that performance you had against Chito Vera was just unreal. And I apologize, Chito, if you see this. He's a great fighter as well. But when you are on, you are next level, man. So, yeah. Smile now and again.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I kind of have like resting douchebag face a little bit.
Oh, no, me too. If I'm not smiling and laughing, I look like I want to kill someone.
Yeah. That's kind of, I was actually listening to someone's podcast the other day, and they were just kind of talking about, it was some comedian's podcast, but they were talking about when you come up, like, I don't know, in the 90s and the 2000s, because there wasn't a ton of social media. It was kind of where if you were a comedian, you were a comedian, and that's the only thing that you did. Like you didn't really mess around in other areas. You didn't act. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. So that's kind of the way that I see stuff. And it feels a little bit foreign now, because like, I don't know if it's this generation or what it is that people are kind of like or whatever, but I kind of just see myself like, bro, like I go to I train almost just as hard when I'm out of camp as I do when I'm in camp. This is the only thing that I find interesting. Like I don't care about television. I don't care. Like I like read books a little bit, and I kind of like meditate and all that stuff, but that's just some stuff that I like kind of do. It's the only thing that interests me. So, as long as I
sports, no. What about sports?
Nah, not really.
Most fighters don't like sport, which is, there's something in that.
I mean, they don't really I mean, it kind of seems a little bit silly when like our sport is hitting each other, and like there's like it seems like a point to it, or like a primitive point to it, but like shooting goals doesn't seem like there's any like primitive point to it, you know? So, but yeah, I mean, that's all that I do, dude. And as long as I'm training and as long as I'm fighting, I know that I'll always continue to get better. And I'm really, you know, like, I know that losing sucks or whatever, but I can't even beat myself too much up about that last fight, because I thought that I did do pretty well. There's like a few fixes, and I had to fight at a 9 or a 10, not a 7, in order to win that fight. So yeah, that's just what I got to do next time. And I just got to keep improving. And I'm actually adding some really cool stuff into my game, which is another reason that I kind of want to fight fairly soon, is because I'm excited about all of the stuff that I learned from Umar and gaining a bunch of confidence and how I can defensively grapple and all of that stuff. So yeah, man, I'm ready to go. I hope it's O'Malley next. Or some type of big caliber fight that would be the same.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it's going to be. It's going to be a big name out there. And what are you, 32 years old?
Yep.
Yeah, you still got plenty of time left. Plenty of time. So don't worry about it. The problem is when you lose a fight and you're waiting for the next one, you're sitting on a loss. Yeah. And the way it works in this game is you're only as good as your last fight. But your last fight, you went 5 rounds with Umar Nurmagomedov, who could be a champion down the line. What do you think about Merab Dvalishvili as the champion?
Yeah, you know, I mean, Merab, he beat Sean like super fair and square, especially, you know, you watch that fight and you see like Tim kind of being a little bit the way that Tim is, Sean's coach, you know, like just talking to Merab early, and then like Sean grabbing the glove, and like they seemed a little bit off, those two, that night. I mean, Merab fought awesome, and that's how you beat Sean O'Malley, whether it's the most exciting thing in the world. Like, when it comes to winning, like, that's what wins, which is why I invest so much time in grappling. If it was just striking, great. Like, I'd probably be a fantastic striker by now if that's all that I had to focus on, but it's not how the sport works. So, I mean, I thought that Merab did great. I thought that he fought the fight exactly how he should fight the fight. Umar versus Merab, that's going to be a super fascinating one. I think that Umar is probably better on paper, but I mean, you can't really, like, Merab just does Merab stuff and it works really well. And he's on like a 12-fight win streak. You cannot just overlook something like that. And he's beaten so many former champs and all of that stuff. I almost want to give the nod to Merab just based off of experience and just based off of the guys that he's beat. But Umar, at the same time, I think has just a really good head on his shoulders, and he seems like a really sharp guy. And I don't know that too much of that will impact that type of person. So that's going to be a great fight. I don't know. Who do you have winning that one? I have no idea.
Oh, you're putting me on the spot there. So I don't know.
I don't know either. Hey, I get put on the spot a lot too.
I really don't know. I mean, when I look at it, it's hard to deny Umar Nurmagomedov with the undefeated streak. But then for everything you just said, Merab, the streak that he's on, Jose Aldo, Petr Yan, Henry Cejudo, all the champs, Sean O'Malley, all the champions that he's beaten, he finds a way to do it. So I just don't know. It's one of those. Could be a coin flip. Anyway, Cory, thank you so much for your time today. I said I wouldn't take too much. I appreciate it. I hope you get a fight book soon, and I look forward to watching.
Cool. Nice talking to you, Mike. I'll catch you later.
Right on, Cory. Thank you very much.
Have a good one.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Great. See ya.
All the best.